The guy in the mirror is wearing a sharp suit, his hair slicked back with too much product. It's me, but it doesn't feel like me. The whole get-up, right down to the ridiculously expensive watch on my wrist, was picked out by Victoria. Tonight is important, so pull yourself together. Don't embarrass me. That's what she said before we left, standing by the door, her eyes scanning me like an X-ray. She sounded like she was briefing a junior associate. I just grunted, too tired to argue. Were we ever in love? Maybe. Back in college, she'd wear these white sundresses and have a smile that could stop traffic. She used to cling to my arm, chattering about the future, her eyes sparkling. What did that light go out? No, that's not right. It didn't go out. It just started shining on someone else. The moment she graduated, she landed a job at some huge multinational corporation and shot up the ladder like a rocket. Me? I got a job at a decent tech firm. I do my work. I haven't moved an inch. The gap between us grew like some kind of toxic ivy, wrapping around me, choking the air out a little more each day. Ethan, you're really not in Vicky's league. The first time I went to her parents' house, her mother said that, holding a teacup without even bothering to look at me. Marrying her was the luckiest thing that will ever happen to you. You do well to remember that. Her dad, at least, pretended to be friendly, clapping me on the shoulder. But the way he said it, it was like he was tossing a bone to a dog, punching above my weight. Not good enough. Those words became the background noise of my life, floating out of conversations with her family, or from her own lips when she was annoyed with me. At first it stung, then I went numb. Now, there's just a hollow space in my chest where a heart used to be. And like an idiot, I thought if I just treated her well, if I bent over backward for her, I could somehow fill that gap. Looking back now, I was just lying to myself. Working late again tonight, I watched her pull another outfit from the walk-in closet, an expert motion by now. I tried to keep my voice flat, neutral. Yeah, Mark Sterling's team has a project that's down to the wire. It's critical. Her back was to me, her voice muffled as she pulled a dress over her head. Mark Sterling. Always Sterling. Her boss. The smooth operator I'd seen working the room at the company's Christmas party, a master of fake smiles and firm handshakes. For the last 6 months, the name Mark Sterling had come up with unnerving frequency. Working late, client dinners, business trips. The excuses were a rotating cast, but the star was always her job and her boss. She started coming home later and later. Sometimes, she didn't come home at all. Do you want me to pick you up? I'd test the waters. No, it'll be way too late. You should just get some sleep. That was always her answer. A light, airy dismissal disguised as concern. A concern that was like a brick wall, blocking any real questions I had. Did I have my suspicions? Of course I did. The phone calls that went straight to voicemail in the middle of the night. The group photos with colleagues on her Instagram, where Sterling was conspicuously absent, captioned with some vague bullshit. The scent of a perfume on her clothes that wasn't hers. How many times did I want to just confront her to demand the truth? But every time the words got to my throat, I'd look at her face, exhausted, but still held together by a mask of perfect makeup, and see the flicker of annoyance in her eyes, and I'd swallow them back down. I was a goddamn coward, afraid that if I tore down the facade, even this hollow, pathetic version of a marriage would be gone. There was a little voice in my head, begging, as long as she still comes home, as long as she still gives me a tight lip smile, maybe I'm just imagining things. That kind of self-delusion is like a slow-acting poison, rotting your brain, letting the pain in your gut fester. Ethan, tonight is the Reed Family Gala. I expect you to be on your absolute best behavior. Victoria's mother called me personally. She didn't ask. She gave an order. Your grandfather will be there, as will several important investors. A lot of major deals are riding on this. Vicky and I will be there on time, I said, my voice monotone. This isn't about being on time. Her voice shot up an octave. This is about performance. You need to act like a loving, devoted husband to my daughter. You need to show everyone that the man the Reed family chose isn't some worthless loser. I understand, Mom. The word Mom tasted like ash in my mouth. The so-called Reed Family Gala was just a stage for business deals and shameless bragging. Everyone was playing a part, sizing each other up, and me, Victoria's husband, I was just another prop. A carefully dressed accessory meant to make her and her family look good. Play the part. Pretend to be in love. Those words were a dull knife, sawing away at what little was left of my self-respect. Especially now, with my mind overrun with suspicion. She wanted me to stand in front of everyone and pretend to be deeply in love with a woman who was very likely cheating on me. The humiliation, mixed with the paranoia I'd been choking on for months, churned in my stomach. After I hung up, I looked outside. The sky was a dull, concrete gray. I felt like a puppet on a string, about to be dragged onto a stage to perform in a disgusting, fake play. The pressure was a physical weight, crushing the air from my lungs. Driving to the hotel, some ambient garbage was playing on the radio. My head was a mess. My right eyelid was twitching uncontrollably. A bad omen. My phone screen lit up. A notification from my bank. It wasn't my card. It was the supplementary card I'd given Victoria. Charge location, the Ritz-Carlton. Time, 11 p.m. last night. Last night, she said she was working late with Sterling's team. The Ritz-Carlton. That's miles from her office. Not on her way home, either. What the hell was she buying there? A sickening thought, venomous and quick, shot through my brain. I yanked the steering wheel. The GPS told me to go straight, but I ignored it, swerving into the entrance of the underground parking garage. I didn't even know what I was doing. Maybe it was the text message. Maybe it was the months of anxiety finally boiling over. Or maybe my subconscious was screaming at me that I needed an answer that would either destroy me completely or finally set me free. The tires thumped over a speed bump. The garage was dimly lit, smelling of gasoline and dust. I slowed the car to a crawl, moving through the rows of parked cars like a ghost, my heart hammering against my ribs so hard I thought it would break through. This felt like a nightmare, like I wasn't in control of my own body. The rational part of my brain was yelling, "Get upstairs, go to the ballroom and play your part," but my body wouldn't listen, determined to drive down this dark, dead-end road. And then, through the windshield of a black Mercedes in front of me, I saw it. That goddamn familiar license plate. Victoria's car. It was parked in the furthest, darkest corner, the lights off like a predator lying in wait. I forgot how to breathe. And in that same instant, I saw her. She got out of the driver's side. She wasn't wearing the business suit she'd left in this morning. She was in a tight black dress I had never seen before. Then, the passenger door opened. A tall man got out. Mark Sterling. He had a relaxed, boozy smile on his face. Victoria turned to him, said something I couldn't hear. The elevator doors chimed shut, sealing off the cold, foul air of the garage. The face in the mirrored wall was terrifyingly pale. Only my eyes were red, like I just crawled out of hell. I straightened my tie, my fingertips trembling. Shit, don't lose it. This was my stage now. I was the main event. The doors opened again, and a wave of warm, perfumed air hit me. The ballroom was a sea of gold and glitter, full of people in expensive clothes. The string quartet was playing something classical, but it couldn't drown out the stench of hypocrisy. And there she was, Victoria, wearing the champagne-colored gown I'd bought for her, her neck arched like a swan. Her smile was perfect. You'd never guess she'd just climbed out of another man's car. God, it was blinding. Looking at her, at that perfect, fake composure, my stomach twisted into a knot. This is my wife, the woman who was swapping spit with some asshole in a car 30 minutes ago. I clenched my jaw so hard my teeth ached, trying to force the nausea down. Every step I took felt like walking on broken glass. Eyes were on me, curious glances, disdainful sneers. That's Victoria Reed's husband. That's him. Yeah, definitely married up. Fuck you. The whispers buzzed around me like flies. Rage burned in my chest, but my face was a blank mask. I just stared at her, like I was looking at a corpse. She saw me and glided over, her hips swaying. That gentle smile she put on was a masterpiece of deception. There you are. I was waiting for you. Her voice was sickly sweet. She reached for my arm. I flinched back, a violent, reflexive jerk like I'd been stung by a scorpion. Her movement froze. A flash of anger crossed her eyes before she instantly replaced it with another smile. Her hand landed on my arm anyway, and she leaned in close to my ear. Her perfume, mixed with the warmth of her breath, made me dizzy. Honey, I know you're tired, but tonight's important. Mom and Dad are watching. Just play along, okay? Don't make a scene. Her voice was soft, sticky, and laced with a threat. Play along with your little show. After you treated me like a fucking idiot, I stared at her painted face and all I wanted to do was tear it off. Make a scene about what? My voice was rough, like sandpaper. She froze for a second. Just, you know, don't let people think we're having problems. Her arm tightened its grip, her nails digging into my biceps. I didn't say anything else. I let her lead me through the crowd like a show dog on a leash. The fire in my gut was roaring, licking at the back of my throat. This was so fucking disgusting. She paraded me around like a prize. Her mother came over, her expression sour. What took you so long? Your suit is wrinkled. I ignored her. Mom, he just got off work. Traffic was terrible. Victoria chirped, her smile flawless. Her mother's face softened slightly. Later, when your father gives a speech, you two will go up and say a few words. Make a toast. A toast? I wanted to toast them with a glass of fucking poison. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him. Sterling. The son of a bitch was holding court, laughing and bullshitting with a group of investors. Every so often, his eyes would dart over to Victoria. A slimy, possessive look. And Victoria? She'd subtly glance back, a flicker of a smile just for him. Right in front of me, as if I were invisible. My heart felt like it was being squeezed in a vice, the pain so sharp it made me gasp. My vision blurred. A ringing started in my ears. Enough. This was fucking enough. Why? Why should I have to take this bullshit? Why do those two get to be happy while I stand here and play the fool? A single explosive thought detonated in my brain, crystal clear. Expose them. Right here. Right now. In front of everyone. Ruin them. Let them feel what this feels like. Fuck mutually assured destruction. I was ready to burn it all down. An ice-cold wave of purpose washed over me. I looked at Victoria. Then I looked at Sterling. Showtime. The lights go down, the house lights dimmed, and a single spotlight hit the stage. Victoria's father, Mr. Reed, walked to the podium. He cleared his throat and launched into the usual corporate bullshit. Thank yous, retrospectives, a vision for the future. The same old script. The audience offered a smattering of polite applause. I stood at the edge of the crowd, watching coldly. Victoria was next to me, her posture perfect, her lips fixed in a practiced smile. But the hand clutching the fabric of her gown was trembling like a leaf in a storm. She knew, on some level, she knew something was about to break. And now, I'd like to invite my daughter, Victoria, and her husband, Ethan, to the stage to say a few words. Her father's voice boomed through the speakers. The spotlight swung over and pinned us. Every eye in the room turned our way. Victoria sucked in a breath, her smile becoming even more brittle. She squeezed my arm hard. The message was clear. It's time to perform, darling. Her voice was a desperate, saccharine whisper laced with a command. I didn't move a muscle. The smile on Victoria's face froze solid. She tugged at me again, hissing through her teeth. Don't be an idiot, Ethan. Get moving. I slowly turned my head and looked right at her. Under the bright stage lights, her makeup was a perfect mask, but her eyes were wide with panic. You go ahead, I said, shrugging her hand off my arm. My voice was ice. Victoria looked stunned, her eyes bulging. On stage, her father was frowning, his annoyance obvious. Below, the crowd started to murmur. I ignored all of it and started walking toward the stage. Not to the spot beside her father, where she wanted me. I walked straight to the podium, where the MC had just left the microphone. The announcement, I wrapped my hand around the microphone. The cool metal felt real, solid. The room fell silent. Every neck craned to see what I was doing. Victoria's face was ashen. She scrambled up the steps, trying to stop me. She looked like she'd seen a ghost, her lips trembling, mouthing a silent question. What the fuck are you doing? I didn't look at her. My gaze swept across the audience. A sea of faces, curious, amused, waiting for me to make a fool of myself. Finally, my eyes landed on Mark Sterling. He'd sensed something was wrong, too. The smug smile was gone, replaced by a guarded, wary expression. I took a deep breath and brought the mic to my lips. My voice was steady, but every word echoed through the cavernous room. Thank you all for coming tonight. On this special occasion, I have an announcement to make. The silence was absolute. Victoria's hand clamped down on my arm, her nails digging into my skin. I, Ethan Clark, and Ms. Victoria Reed. I paused, looking directly at her pale, horrified face, and enunciated every syllable, have decided to get a divorce. The truth comes out, the room erupted. Gasps, nervous whispers, the sound of a dropped glass. It was chaos. Under the spotlight, Victoria's face was a blank, white canvas of shock. She lunged at me, grabbing my arm, her entire body shaking. "You're insane. Ethan, do you have any fucking idea what you're saying?" Her voice was a raw shriek as she tried to wrestle the mic away from me. Her grip was surprisingly strong, her nails biting into my flesh. The pain sharpened my focus. With a surge of adrenaline, I ripped my arm away, shoving her back. She stumbled, nearly falling flat on her ass. Insane. I looked at her, at the raw terror and desperation in her eyes, and a cold, cruel smile spread across my face. I've never been more sane in my life. I turned back to the stunned audience. Their expressions were priceless. Shock, confusion, and for some, barely concealed glee. I raised my voice, my words booming through the speakers. And as for the reason why, my eyes drifted slowly, deliberately, to Mark Sterling, who was now trying to shrink back into the crowd. For that, you'll have to ask Ms. Reed. And her associate over there, Mr. Sterling, asked them how late they worked last night. Crocodile tears. It was like Victoria's soul had been sucked out of her body. It took a moment, but then some life returned. She shot me a look, her eyes blazing red, tears welling up but not quite falling. That on the verge of tears look, paired with her deathly pale face. A year ago, it would have broken my heart. Now it just looked fake. "Ethan," her voice trembled, thick with unshed tears. "I know you've been under a lot of pressure lately. I know you're not happy, that you've misunderstood things." She took a ragged breath, as if it required all her strength. "But you can't do this. Not here. Not in front of all these people. You can't just stand there and slander me with these baseless accusations." She suddenly turned to the audience, her voice rising in a pitch of tragic indignation. "Please, don't listen to him. He's not well. He's just jealous. Jealous that my career is more successful than his. Jealous of my professional relationship with Mr. Sterling." She was just spewing nonsense, trying to paint me as the crazy, vindictive husband. Watching her Oscar-worthy performance, I felt a wave of nausea. What happened to the girl who used to smile at me like I was the only person in the world? Was she dead? The weight on my chest was suffocating. I didn't say a word. I just let her act, watching her performance with cold detachment. When her monologue finally wound down, I spoke again, my voice low and even. "Not well. So the credit card charge from the Ritz-Carlton at 11 p.m. last night, I imagined that. And in the parking garage, you and Mr. Sterling." I let the sentence hang in the air, my eyes locking onto Sterling's, whose face was now a sickly green. That passionate kiss. Did I imagine that, too? A transaction of power. Sterling knew he had to move. If I kept talking, his reputation would be in the gutter along with hers. He adjusted his tie, forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes, and walked toward the stage with the confidence of a man used to being in charge. He didn't even glance at Victoria. His focus was entirely on me. "Mr. Clark, I believe there's been a misunderstanding." His voice was a low baritone, the sound of a boss trying to de-escalate a situation with an unruly employee. Victoria was, in fact, working with me and the team last night. We have a critical deadline, and it ran quite late. I'm sorry if that caused you any concern. The same old bullshit excuse. Working late. As for your other claims, about a hotel, about a kiss. He let out a short, dismissive laugh, looking at me like I was a child. "Young man, you have a vivid imagination, but making baseless accusations, especially ones that slander a lady and your superior, is in very poor taste." The son of a bitch. He was trying to flip it on me. Blood rushed to my head. My temples started throbbing. Stay calm. I have to stay calm. He wants me to lose my temper. He wants to prove I'm unhinged. I'm not giving him the satisfaction. A misunderstanding. I met his gaze without flinching. "Mr. Sterling, we're all adults here. Let's not play games. You say you were working. Where's your proof?" I stared him down. "Who else was on the project team last night? Who can verify that you worked until the middle of the night and that your work somehow took you to the Ritz-Carlton?" The fake smile on Sterling's face finally vanished. His eyes turned cold, radiating a threat he didn't bother to hide. "Ethan Clark, is it?" He took a half step closer, lowering his voice so only I could hear. "You should learn when to back down. This situation is bad for everyone. It doesn't have to get worse. I'm willing to forget this outburst. I'll give you a way out. He paused, his tone shifting to that of a man making a generous offer to a beggar. Name your price. How much will it take for you to shut your mouth and sign the divorce papers quietly? He was trying to buy me off. He thought money could fix this, that it could erase the humiliation. Fuck him. 12. The threat backfires, Mr. Sterling. I lower my voice to match his, my tone dripping with ice. What's the going rate for a man's dignity these days? His face tightened. Or maybe, I stared directly into his eyes. The better question is, how much is Victoria worth to you? That hit a nerve. A flicker of raw fury crossed his face before he suppressed it. It seems you're determined to do this the hard way, he sneered. Ethan, don't think I don't know who you are. That little tech firm you work for. It's not doing so great, is it? One phone call from me. That's all it would take to have you fired. To make sure you never work in this city again. A threat. Finally, the mask was off. This was the real him. The rich, powerful asshole who thought he could crush anyone who got his way. A cold dread snaked up my spine, but I wasn't afraid. From the moment I stepped on the stage, I knew there was no going back. Mr. Sterling, I said, biting off each word. Go ahead and try. But before you do, you should probably consider something. I leaned in closer, my voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. You have no idea what kind of dirt I have on you. Enough to burn you and your little work partner to the ground. I didn't specify what it was, but my eyes, my tone, they told him everything he needed to know. I wasn't bluffing. Sterling's pupils constricted. The color drained from his face, leaving him looking pale and suddenly very old. 13. The smear campaign the next day, the internet was flooded with stories about me. Wealthy heiress's husband explodes in jealous rage. Blue-collar husband's twisted revenge fantasy against successful wife. They even concocted a story claiming I was mentally unstable with a history of violent behavior. The proof? A picture from my college Facebook album of me wrestling with a buddy at a party, framed as evidence of domestic abuse. Fucking unbelievable. Looking at all the lies, I almost had a laugh. But there was a sharp, cold pain in my chest. This was fear. If I were just some crazy loser, they wouldn't be trying this hard to discredit me. I closed the browser, done wasting my time with their bullshit. I opened my laptop and started organizing my ammunition. The dashcam footage, the hotel receipts, the text messages I'd recovered from her old phone, the suspicious emails. It wasn't enough. I needed one final kill shot. Sterling moved fast. That afternoon, I got a call from HR. Ethan, your position has been eliminated. The voice on the other end was cold, detached. Reason? Company restructuring. Bullshit. The shitty little company I worked for did business with the Reeds and Sterling's corporation. Getting me fired was as simple as Sterling making a phone call. Power. It's a hell of a drug. A chill ran down my spine, but I wasn't panicking. Fine, pay me what you owe me according to my contract, or I'll see you in court. I hung up. Fired. I was counting on it. It meant I was free. I picked up my burner phone and dialed a number. Hey, Jake. I got a job for you. Jake was my best friend from college. Now he's a private investigator who knows all the shortcuts. I need you to dig into Victoria Reed and her boss, Mark Sterling. I want every dirty secret they have, especially anything involving company money being used for personal reasons. The dirtier, the better. Done, Jake said. His voice was calm, steady. I hung up and looked out the window at the overcast sky. This was just the beginning. They wanted to ruin my reputation? Fine. Let's see who's left standing when the dust settles. The next few days were hell. I became a public punching bag. The online insults got worse. Psycho, abuser, gold digger. Some woman claiming to be Victoria's best friend went on a gossip blog and spun a whole narrative about how I had emotionally terrorized her. Victoria herself made a post on Instagram. A selfie with red, puffy eyes. The caption read, "Marriage is hard. Sometimes you just have to know when to walk away with grace." The fucking hypocrisy was breathtaking. It made me sick to my stomach. My chest felt tight, like it was filled with cement. I didn't respond to any of it. Engaging with them now would be like wrestling a pig in shit. I was waiting for Jake, waiting for the right moment to strike. Sterling sent another messenger, upping the offer. 7 figures to make it all go away. I told him to go to hell. Victoria called me too. The anger was gone, replaced by tears. Ethan, I'm begging you, please. Let this go. We were married. I'll give you more money in the settlement, whatever you want. Her voice was choked with sobs. It sounded so pathetic. If I hadn't seen her get out of Sterling's car with my own eyes, I might have even believed her. Now her voice just felt like an assault on my eardrums. Every sob was like her rubbing salt in the raw, gaping wound in my chest. Victoria, I cut her off. There's nothing left for us to talk about. I'll see you in court. I hung up and blocked her number. Don't you dare try use your cheap tears on me ever again. 2 days later, Jake called. Ethan, I got something. I could hear the excitement in his voice. There are some irregularities in Sterling's expense reports. Huge charges listed as client entertainment, but the dates and vendors line up perfectly with your wife's shopping sprees and hotel stays. Also, that big project she's heading up, Sterling pushed it through personally. Everyone on the team knew her proposal was garbage. So that's how it was. An exchange of favors. He was using company funds to finance his affair. Fucking disgusting. My stomach churned. Keep digging. I want financial records, project approval chains, anything that isn't clean. I want it all. And watch them. See if they try to destroy any evidence. They wanted to ruin me. I was going to rip their world out by the roots. While I was gathering my ammo, the two of them weren't sitting still. They changed tactics. They were done with the online slander. One night, I went down to take out the trash. 2 guys in black jackets, looking like cheap thugs, cornered me in the stairwell. One of them had tattoos running up his arm. You Clark? The tattooed one sneered. Someone sent a message. Said to tell you to stop being a fucking idiot and take the deal. 14. The Reeds begged for mercy. The anonymous email I sent had a bigger impact than I'd even hoped. A few days later, word got out that Sterling had been called in for a chat with the SEC. His company claimed it was a routine inquiry, but the stock price was in a free fall. The financial papers were all running veiled stories about it. You didn't need to be a genius to connect the dots. The sycophants who used to follow him around like puppies were now avoiding him like the plague. Victoria was in an even worse position. Jake told me she was a pariah at the office. Her subordinates would practically dive under their desks to avoid making eye contact. The people on her project team, the ones Sterling had shut down before, were now openly questioning her competence and digging into her project's finances. Her fancy director title was meaningless. She was a walking scandal. I stared at the gossip blogs and the new intel Jake had sent over. Clearer hotel receipts. A few grainy but identifiable security camera clips. Goddamn right. They deserved it. But seeing them torn down, dragged through the mud. Why didn't I feel any better? Just empty. A hollowed out feeling. That familiar tightness returned to my stomach. I closed the browser tabs, staring at the files of evidence on my screen. My fingers tapped on the keyboard. Click, click, organizing, labeling, backing up. I was detached, clinical, like I was handling a stranger's affairs. This wasn't enough. The damage had to be bigger. The phone calls from the Reed family confirmed they were panicking. The first was from my former mother-in-law. Her voice had lost its sharp, commanding edge. It was just tired and afraid. Ethan, can we talk? I said nothing. Vicky, she knows she was wrong. She's lost so much weight. She looks terrible. She was trying to play the sympathy card, begging me, for the sake of what you two used to have. What we used to have. Where was that cinnamon at the gala when she was ready to have me thrown out, calling me a worthless leech? It was fucking laughable. My throat was dry. I took a sip of cold water, but it didn't quell the irritation. Ma'am, my voice was flat at deadline. What's the point of saying all this now? Silence on the other end. Yes, our family wronged you. She took a breath, her voice even lower. This mess isn't good for anyone. They've learned their lesson. Whatever compensation you want, just name it. Compensation? Can money buy back my dignity? Can it wash away the filth? What I want, I cut her off. You can't afford to give me. I hung up. Not long after, Mr. Reed called. He wasn't as groveling, but I could hear the exhaustion in his voice. He didn't talk about family honor. He just kept repeating the same phrase. Be the bigger man, Ethan. Don't take it too far. He hinted at a massive payout if I would drop the lawsuit and just disappear. Huh. Funny how quickly their attitude changed. The taste of public humiliation must be bitter. Listening to the man who once looked at me like I was dirt now, trying to reason with me, I felt nothing. Victoria contacted me again, too. No more screaming. No more acting. The moment I answered, all I could hear was a choked, suppressed sob. Ethan. Her voice was a raw, nasal whisper. I am sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't speak, just listen to her ragged breathing. I know I was wrong. I don't know what I was thinking. I never should have hurt you. She was crying so hard, she could barely speak. I was so insecure, so stupid. She started rambling about the past, about all the sweet bullshit memories. Hearing them from her mouth now, they felt like needles stabbing me over and over. Is this the same woman who stood on that stage and called me a jealous, unhinged psycho? Are these tears for me or for herself? The nausea was back, stronger than ever. Can we start over? She cried. I'll quit my job. We can move to a new city, just like we used to talk about. Like we used to? There's no going back. Not since the moment I saw what I saw in that parking garage. Victoria, I finally spoke, my voice so cold it surprised me. Stop crying. Her sobs hitched. Some things, once you do them, you can't undo, I said slowly. If an apology fixed everything, we wouldn't need cops. Ethan, and all that before we're talking about. I cut her off, my voice devoid of any emotion. I don't fucking remember any of it. I heard a strangled gasp on the other end, and then silence. I ended the call. The phone screen went dark. God, I was tired. Her tears, crocodile tears. Nothing more. Sterling changed his approach, too. He was done sending messengers. He called me himself. His voice sounded drained, but he couldn't hide that arrogant tone, like he was doing me a huge favor just by calling. Mr. Clark, I think we may have gone off on the wrong foot. Fucker. Starting with the bullshit. I stayed silent, letting him talk. My behavior was out of line. I apologize. Apologize? Him. You're a young man. You have a temper. I get it. But this situation has gotten out of hand. It's not good for any of the three of us, is it? Three of us? He was lumping himself and that cheating bitchin' with me. Fucking hilarious. My fingers were cold. I tightened my grip on the phone. I know what you want. The previous offer wasn't enough. I can do better. I'll give you a number that will set you up for life. His tone was the same one you'd use to pay off a nuisance. All you have to do is destroy the evidence. Then, you get the hell out of town and disappear. Get out, disappear. He made it sound so simple. Mr. Sterling, I finally said, my voice unreadable. Do you really think this is just about money? He went quiet on his end, probably trying to figure out my angle. Let me put another way, I said, slowing down, hitting each word like a hammer. Do you think the trouble Victoria brought you is worth the price you're offering? I could hear his breathing get heavier. Clark, what the hell do you want? There it was. The impatience, the anger, finally breaking through. I paused. I think we should discuss this in person. He seemed surprised, but agreed immediately. Fine, you name the time and place. Tomorrow, 3 p.m. Downtown Starbucks, by the window. Done. He hung up. I looked out the window at the gray, featureless sky. Sterling, you fool. You think this is a negotiation? No. This is you walking right into your own grave. Their journey from arrogance and threats to feigned apologies and bribery told me everything. The anonymous email, the online backlash, it had hurt them. Badly. The SEC inquiry, the stock drop, being ostracized at work. They deserved every bit of it. They were scared. Scared of losing what they had. Scared of all their dirty laundry being aired out for the world to see. Victoria's crocodile tears, Sterling's hollow sincerity. It was the desperate thrashing of a drowning man, trying to trick me into letting go. Not a chance in hell. Thinking about them squirming like insects on a hot plate, the bitter taste of betrayal and humiliation in my mouth started to fade. It wasn't joy. It was a cold, calm satisfaction. The feeling of watching a predator move in for the kill. I went to my computer and opened the latest file from Jake. Proof of how Sterling used company funds to bankroll Victoria's projects to finance their affair. The evidence was damning, much stronger than what I'd put in the first email. I carefully sorted and backed up every file, every image. This was it. All I needed was a bigger stage. A stage with a much bigger audience than some bullshit family gala. The divorce hearing would be perfect. But first, a little face-to-face with Sterling. Maybe I could squeeze a little more out of him before the end. I stared at the screen, at the digital records of their filthy transactions. The show was just getting started. I was going to make them pay back every single thing they owed me. With interest. 3 o'clock. Downtown Starbucks. The afternoon sun was bright, and the air smelled thick and sweet with coffee. I got a table by the window. Iced Americano. Cold as my heart. Sterling was 5 minutes late. He wore a pristine suit, hair perfectly in place, but you could see the exhaustion and fear behind his eyes. He sat down across from me, waving away the barista who came to take his order. "Mr. Clark," he said, his voice a little hoarse. "Let's not beat around the bush." I didn't answer. I just took a sip of my coffee. It was fucking cold. He still thought he was in control. Idiot. The anonymous email. "That was you," he stated, leaning forward, his voice low. "I've handled the SEC. It was all circumstantial. Nothing that will stick." He watched me, waiting for a reaction. "I don't want a repeat performance. It's not good for anyone." He said it like he had me cornered. My heart rate was steady. My fingers traced the condensation on the cold glass. I put the cup down and looked at him. "Mr. Sterling," I said slowly, "do you really think it's just circumstantial?" His eyes twitched. "I have a feeling there are other agencies that would be very interested in your accounting." Sterling's face fell. His hand, resting on the table, clenched into a fist. "What are you implying?" he said, his voice tight. "Nothing." My voice was flat as water. Just a friendly reminder that some money is too dirty to touch. He stared at me, his eyes like daggers, trying to dissect me. The air between us was thick with tension. After a few seconds, he changed his tone, layering on the fake sincerity. "Ethan, you're a smart guy. Don't push this to the point of no return." He pulled a check from his jacket pocket and slid it across the table. $1 million. Enough to live comfortably for the rest of your life. He held my gaze. "Destroy everything you have, get out of Chicago, and never show your face here again." $1 million. To buy my silence, to pay for my dignity, to cover up his sordid affair with Victoria. My chest felt tight. My stomach churned. I picked up the check. It felt flimsy, worthless. I glanced at the number. Then, I gently pushed it back across the table. "Mr. Sterling," I said, looking at him, "do you really think my dignity, or the mess Victoria dragged you into, is only worth this much?" His face turned a shade of green. "Don't push your fucking luck." His voice rose, and the people at the next table looked over. He quickly lowered it, his tone turning venomous. "Clark, this is your last chance. Take the money and get out. Or else." "Or else what?" I cut him off, leaning forward, locking my eyes on his. "You'll send a couple more of your hired thugs to scare me? Or you'll make another phone call and to get my new job taken away?" With every word I spoke, his expression grew darker. "Mr. Sterling," I said, my voice quiet but carrying the weight of a sledgehammer, "think very carefully before you make your next move. Think about the baby in Victoria's womb." I let that hang in the air, and what the results of a paternity test might show. His pupils dilated. He jerked backward, hitting the back of his chair with a loud thud. He looked at me as if he were seeing me for the first time. I stood up, smoothing out my jacket. "There's nothing more to talk about." I took out my phone and hit the stop recording button. "Oh, and by the way," I leaned down, my voice a whisper only he could hear. "I recorded that entire conversation. I'm sure the SEC and the IRS would be very interested in your generous offer." Watching the last bit of color drain from his face, I turned and walked away. Outside, the sun was almost blinding. The storm clouds overhead were finally starting to break. The second I was out the door, I called Jake. "Jake, Sterling is definitely moving money. And Victoria is pregnant." There was a pause on the other end. "Pregnant? With his kid? Who the hell else?" My voice was ice. "Check his offshore accounts. And I need Victoria's medical records. Dig deep." "You got it," Jake said. "Someone from his company contacted me after the email leak. They were spooked. Said they have more dirt to share." "Good." I hung up, taking a deep breath. Every move, every step was part of my plan. Sterling, Victoria, they were like two insects caught in a spider's web. The more they struggled, the more entangled they became. They thought they were saving themselves. Fools. The thought of their imminent downfall made my heart pound. A tingling sensation, a thrill, ran through my fingertips. I went home and opened my laptop. Jake had sent the new files. Proof of how Sterling used company money to keep his mistress, how he manipulated projects for her. Surveillance photos, audio recordings. I organized, encrypted, and backed up everything. Every click of the mouse was another nail in their coffins. I selected the most damning pieces of evidence and sent them, anonymously, to Sterling's biggest corporate rival and a few notoriously aggressive media outlets. Then, I call my lawyer. Mr. Davison, I have everything we need, I said, my voice calm. File the motion. Let's get a court date as soon as possible. I was going to make them stand trial in the court of public opinion and the court of law. I wanted them exposed, in front of everyone. Nowhere left to hide. 17. The verdict the day of the hearing. The courtroom was packed. Members of the Reed family, executives from Sterling's company, and a horde of reporters who could smell blood in the water. Victoria sat at the defendant's table, dressed in an innocent white dress. Her face was pale, her eyes darting around nervously, refusing to meet mine. Sterling, the coward, was a no-show. I wasn't surprised. The judge banged the gavel, and the show began. My lawyer, Davison, was first. He was direct and brutal. Adultery, irreconcilable differences, defamation of character. Victoria's lawyer offered a weak defense, claiming it was all slander, that I was the one at fault. She played her part, bowing her head and dabbing at her eyes with a tissue, her shoulders shaking with fake sobs. She was a hell of an actress. I felt nothing but cold, hard ice in my veins. Then it was our turn to present evidence. Davison walked up with a thick binder and a USB drive. Your Honor, we have evidence supporting the claim of Ms. Reed's marital infidelity. His voice was loud and clear. Hotel records, security camera stills, dashcam footage. With every item he listed, Victoria flinched, her face growing paler. We also have an audio recording, Davison added, his voice heavy. I nodded. He pressed play. The courtroom fell deathly silent. Sterling's arrogant voice filled the room, crystal clear. $1 million. Enough to live comfortably for the rest of your life. Destroy everything you have, get out of Chicago. Then my own cold voice. Mr. Sterling, do you really think my dignity, or the mess Victoria dragged you into, is only worth this much? When that part played, Victoria's head snapped up. She stared at me, her eyes filled with a terror so profound it was almost pitiful. A loud gasp went through the gallery. The recording continued, playing the part where I mentioned her pregnancy and the paternity test. Victoria slumped in her chair, a broken doll. Her lawyer had to hold her up. Her lips were trembling, but no sound came out. The courtroom was silent again. Every eye was on her ruined, ashen face. The judge's expression was grim. Her lawyer tried to argue the recording was inadmissible, but his voice was weak, defeated. Davison didn't give him a chance. He moved on to the next exhibit. Everything Jake had found. The proof of Sterling's embezzlement to fund their affair. Bank statements, approval documents, internal emails, witness testimony. One piece after another, like hammer blows, destroying what was left of their reputations. Sterling wasn't there, but he was being crucified all the same. Your Honor, Davison concluded, the defendant, Victoria Reed, not only committed adultery, but was also complicit in a scheme of corporate corruption and financial crime with her lover. This has not only destroyed the marriage, but has also caused my client immense emotional distress and public humiliation. We are seeking a divorce, a division of assets in which she forfeits her share, and punitive damages for emotional distress. Victoria completely broke down. She buried her face in her hands, her body racked with pathetic silent sobs. Across the room, I could see the stone-faced fury of her parents. They looked at her like they wanted to kill her. The reporters were writing so fast, I was surprised their pens didn't catch fire. Looking at the wreckage, at the complete and utter devastation I'd caused, the black cloud of anger and bitterness inside me finally dissipated. I could breathe again. The hearing ended. The judge would deliver the official ruling in a few days. But I already knew. She was finished. News of the hearing spread like wildfire. The evidence I'd submitted, especially the recording of Sterling's bribery attempt and Victoria's pregnancy, was the talk of the town. Sterling's company's stock plummeted. The board of directors convened an emergency meeting and suspended him the next day, launching a full internal investigation. News that the IRS and the district attorney's office were now involved was everywhere. His empire was crumbling. His wife reportedly moved out with the kids that same day, hiring the most ruthless divorce attorney in the city. Victoria's fate was even worse. Her company fired her for gross misconduct and damaging the company's reputation. The scandal had disgraced the Reed family, costing them business deals and their social standing. Her parents threw her out of the house and publicly disowned her. The friends who used to flock around her now avoided her like she was radioactive. She was a joke, a cautionary tale. I read the news, sitting by my window, sipping an iced tea. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel sorry for her. I just felt done. I picked up my phone, found their numbers, and hit delete. Clean slate. 18. A new beginning. The judge's hammer came down fast. The result, exactly what I expected. Divorce granted. Victoria, the court ruled, was egregiously at fault. The assets, the vast majority, went to me. Her share? Nothing. She walked away with nothing but the clothes on her back. And she owed me a substantial sum for emotional damages. Not a penny less. Walking out of the courthouse, the sun was bright, almost painfully so. Goddamn, I could finally breathe. That massive weight that had been crushing my chest was finally gone. What happened after? It was impossible to ignore the fallout. Sterling went to prison. Embezzlement, fraud, a whole list of charges. He'd be rotting in a cell for a long time. His money, seized, frozen. He had nothing left. Victoria? Her story was even more tragic. No job, no family, and drowning in debt. That baby, the product of her affair, was too far along to terminate. I heard she was a ghost of her former self, gaunt and broken. All that glamour and ambition, gone. The same people who used to whisper about me, marrying up, now averted their eyes when they saw me on the street. Those two became the city's favorite scandal, a story people told with a sneer. And you know what? It felt good. The rage was finally gone. I felt light. Free. I sold that condo, the one filled with so many bad memories. I bought a smaller place for myself, in a quieter neighborhood. A new job? I got a better one on my own merit. No more being the guy who wasn't good enough. Do I ever think about Victoria? Sometimes. A fleeting thought. But the good memories are tainted, spoiled. She killed them. She made her choices. She dug her own grave. She has nothing to do with me anymore. This weekend, the sun is shining. I made a cup of coffee and thought about what's next. My phone rang. An unknown number. I answered. A woman's voice, pleasant. Hi, is this Ethan Clark? My name is Sarah Jenkins. We were supposed to connect about the new project. Work. A new partnership. The bullshit was finally over. My heartbeat was steady. A feeling of warmth spread through my chest. It was nice. I picked up a pen and started taking notes. And for the first time in a long time, I think I smiled.